Hello guys, in this video we are going to discuss women characters in Shakespeare plays. In Shakespeare tragedies and his plays in general, there are several types of female characters. They influence other characters but are also often underestimated. Women in Shakespearean plays have always had important roles, sometimes the leading role. Types of women characters in Shakespeare plays. Shakespeare constructs the four types of women characters in his plays: clever, sentimental, beautiful, and evil characters. Clever characters in Shakespeare plays: Portia in The Merchant of Venice, Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing, Rosalind in As You Like It. Next one is sentimental characters: Juliet in Romeo and Juliet, Helena in Midsummer Night's Dream, Viola in Twelfth Night, Miranda in The Tempest. The next one is beautiful women characters in Shakespeare plays: Desdemona in Othello, Cordelia in King Lear, Hermione in The Winter's Tale. Evil characters in Shakespeare plays: Lady Macbeth, Cornel and Regan, King Lear, Cleopatra in Antony and Cleopatra. Now let us discuss the powerful women characters in Shakespeare plays within these four types. First one, Portia in The Merchant of Venice. Portia is unusual is that since her father's death, having no brother, she has had to perform the role of a man and manage the very wealthy estate he has left her father. Nevertheless, he has been able to exercise power over her from beyond the grave by stipulating in his will that those wealthy and powerful men who come to woo her from around the world will have to undergo a test and choose from three caskets, one of which contains the permissions to marry Portia. When a judge is required by the Duke of Venice to try the case Shylock has brought against Antonio, who is reluctant to yield the pound of flesh he has agreed to give Shylock if he is unable to pay a loan in time, Portia comes disguised as a famous young judge and shows extraordinary qualities in delivering her judgment. Her power lies in her wisdom, recognized by all those who do not know that she is a woman. In a real sense, she exercises power over everyone present. Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing. Much Ado About Nothing is a remarkable play in which Shakespeare interviews an ancient mythological story with an ultra-modern love story invented by himself. Beatrice is a feisty, independent woman, seen by those around her such she does not have to disguise herself as a man because of her reputation in the family as a feisty woman who shouldn't be tangled with. She is highly intelligent and would be regarded as a feminist in our time. There is no question of her being told who to marry, as she will always do as she pleases. But in any case, she has contempt for men. She particularly dislikes Benedict, a soldier who visits Messina regularly and stays in her uncle, the governor's house. Shakespeare has invented the most incredible wordplay between these two characters, who are both anti-marriage, but they are tricked by their friends into falling in love. Beatrice draws Benedict into a plot to get revenge on Gladio, who has beaten her cousin. Hero who was about to marry him. The play ends with the couple confirmed in their love and their decision to marry. Beatrice reverts to the traditional female role, but in her case, there is a decided edge to it. Rosalind in As You Like It. Rosalind is the central character in the play. She is disguised as a man throughout until the end and is able to organize everyone to fit in with her needs and desires. Her aim is to turn the man she wants to marry into someone who can match her qualities and be strong as she is. Viola, in 12th night, finding herself shipwrecked off the beach at Illyria, and having lost her twin brother in the wreck. Viola's first instinct is not to appeal for help as helpless woman, but to disguise herself as a man and find a job as a servant in the household of Duke. As a man, she has the freedom to move around without a cheaper one. Her ability to adapt herself to her circumstances in spite of her female upbringing, where she has been protected by men, and all decisions about her have been made by men in an indication of her strength. It is not only that adaptation that suggests strength, but the ability to manipulate her circumstances for her own desired outcome, which is to marry the Duke. Miranda, in The Tempest, Miranda is a prosperous daughter. She was 3 years old when she and her father were exiled. Now, some 12 years later, she is beginning to blossom into a beautiful young woman. She is an innocent, having never seen any woman and having no knowledge of any other human being except of her father. She is unaware of her beauty because she does not know what feminine beauty is supposed to look like. Miranda's compassion is evident in the first act with her concern for the passengers caught up in the storm. Miranda is also justly indignant and at her father's story of betrayal. Her tenderness is also evident when she begs her father not to use magic to control Ferdinand, whom she loves. Miranda is an obedient daughter, as proved by her dismay when she forgets herself and reveals her name to Ferdinand. But she is also a young woman in love. When her father is occupied, she immediately looks to release Ferdinand from his labors. Miranda has no experience with the people, and she has no experience with men other than her father and Caliban. Because of their isolation, she has developed no artful skills at filtering, and when Ferdinand tells her that he loves her, Miranda weeps. In all that she does, Miranda is sweet and pure, honest and loving. Desdemona in Othello. Although Desdemona submits passively to her husband, Othello as a strangles her to death. She demonstrates her death at the beginning of the play when her father asks the Duke of Venice to stop her marriage to the Moor Othello, who he wants to marry her but she has fallen in love with the black man and he is opposed to their marriage, which has already taken place in secret by that time. The Duke asks her to give an account of herself, and in remarkable speech, she convinces him. In that speech, she comes across as a modern woman, an independent woman who has been a good daughter but is now ready to ally herself with her husband. If her father doesn't like that, then it is just too bad. It isn't his business anymore. It required enormous strength to say things like that in a room full of powerful men at that time. Juliet in Romeo and Juliet. Juliet would not be thought of as a woman in our time, but at just 14, she is already a commodity which her father, a rich merchant, is preparing to trade for a connection with their noble family. He is in the middle of that process just as she is falling in love with the teenage Romeo. She has only one thing on her mind: to marry Romeo, who is not only not her father's choice, but forbidden fruit in that their families are involved in an ancient feud in which all contact between them is forbidden. Without telling her father the reason, she refuses to marry the Count of Paris. This is speculatively brave for the time, and her father, Coupler, simply cannot understand it. He swears at her, threatens he, and even strikes her. She does not give way any desperate for a way out without giving up her love for Romeo. She seeks the advice of Friar Lawrence. A solution is to take a drug that will make her appear dead. She will be placed in a tomb, and Romeo will come and take her away. She is terrified of waking in a tomb stuffed with corpses, but takes the drug. She is a female of enormous determination and courage, and is without a doubt one of the strongest of all Shakespeare's characters. Cordelia and King Lear. The vain and foolish Lear desires to retire as king and give all his lands and money to his three daughters. Their portions based on their declarations of how much they love him. The two older daughters, Cornel and Regan, go overboard in their hypocritical statements. Cordelia says she loves him according to her duty as a daughter and the bond between a parent and the child. Enraged, he banishes her and tells her two suitors, both princes, that whoever wants her can have her, but without the dowry they had been expecting. The Duke of Burgundy declines, but the King of France agrees to take her for herself. She has stood up to her father, showing great courage. Later, when the other two have cruelly rejected Lear, and he lies defeated and imprisoned in a dungeon, she is with him imprisoned. She comforts him and raises him up. She has helped him to learn what the bond between a father and a daughter is. She has shown great strength throughout, and when her sisters have her hanged, Lear dies of a broken heart. Thank you for watching my lesson. Thank you.